Greetings! Hello everyone. How is everybody doing today? Welcome back to another show. Today we're going to be talking about the number 19, 19, which is central to all of the work I've done for many years, which then obviously led to the creation of 19,000 years of peace, which I'll be discussing in depth today from a variety of different angles as quickly as possible, because I can see people are watching these videos, but I can also see maybe not everybody watches the whole thing. There's so much information, really. I'm following my intuition to share all this information in this way. That's what I received as how to get this information across. The number 19. Before I continue, I'm just going to present you this and just say, yeah, today I'm going to talk about some things. I would really ask for your attention, particularly in this episode. Out of most of the others, there's some other ones which I would really ask for your attention even more. But this one particularly too. If you could, I would greatly appreciate that. Thank you very much. Now, here's a printout of an old presentation I used to give from around 2004-2005, where I started to relate this idea of a 19-year cycle in a slightly different way than the standard way. If you do have a copy of this book, and if you still don't have a copy of this book, you can either go here and follow the links to either download the chapters individually, or there's a link for the draft if you look on the left hand side and scroll down. Here you can find a copy free to download, and I think that's actually the photographic quality edition, and that's in the shop, which there's also free downloads. So just in case you don't have a copy of this book in digital form or an actual physical copy, first of all, I'm going to be turning to pages 21 and 22, 23. Here's an image. That's some maths over here, and that's some geometries over here. I'm just bringing this up because that was the card from yesterday, which is geometries, which goes with the 19 from a geometrical standpoint. So that's pages 21 and 23 is this one, which talks about it from the perspective of a spiral orbit, or a moving orbit that fluctuates, as in not just a flat plane, not just a circle, something with a bit more complex maths going on. After that, there is, from pages 33, you can find the information specifically about today's card, which is the flower of 19, which is this graphic here, which is different from the standard flower of life because it's drawn specifically with 19 circles rather than fill out the whole image to the edge with petals. And at this point, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the back of the book, because if you go to the back of the book, to the appendices, pages 143 and 145, you can find these two pages. Okay, and this one here. And if you look at those 2 pages, you can see all the places around the world that there is records of knowledge of the 19-year cycle, and a massive list of places where the iconography of the flower of life, or variations of it, can be found carved in stones, mosaics on floors. So this is actually a very familiar cycle, okay? And that's where I'm going to start off from. So I've mentioned the Gregorian. Now, the Gregorian is just from the Italian peninsula. The 19-year cycle is from the whole planet. The iconography can be found across the whole planet. So, it is a planetary gnosis, is what I'm talking about. Okay? And that's important to make that distinction again right now. Before I continue into what occurred after the beginning point, here is today's card. We are now on day 46, and this is card 33, Alchemy 7. This is today's card, the Flower of 19. Flower of Life, 19 circles, 12 plus 7. Going back to the original seeds of life, go to Earth 1, that was day 1. It grows into the tree of life and time over 13 months, go to Earth 13, which is the completion of the cube journey. Now we have reached the flower of life. From seed 7 to tree 13 into flower of 19. The 19-year pattern combines the natural Earth year with the short and long lunar years. For instance, if there was a full moon on winter solstice, 19 years later there would be a full moon on winter solstice. 19 times 19 flowers fit within the greater fractal levels, go to Alchemy 12. When I referred to winter solstice and a full moon, that is just one example. If there's a full moon on a day, whichever day, 19 years later, it will be on the same day. In a natural calendar, again, in the Gregorian, the leap day system, all these sorts of things can cause anomalies. I'm talking in a purely natural timing system, it would be 19 years later. So that is the basis of today's card, and that is the basis that created this entire book. It's from that place I'm going to now share more information in relation to what it all means on these multiple levels. Because today is Galactic Arkana number 19, which relates to strength. Yes, that's right, I've changed another card. Yeah, there's 3 of them I've changed. To me, strength is 19. It talks about when all of the cycles combine, all these different cycles combining. And how would you map that out? Would you map that out with the Gregorian calendar? Or would you use a natural-based calendar that's already aligned with nature to then map out further levels of nature that relate to nature in the first place? My intuition was understanding natural time as someone who enjoys maths when it's interesting, that's where my path took me. And this is from many, many, many years ago to reach this point now. "19-year flower." Well, in the traditions that still maintain their supremacy over the planet, the primary application of this 19-year cycle is to determine Easter, the date of Easter. And that is pretty much, yeah, that's their main thing, that they use this tool of the 19-year cycle to perform a function, which is determine Easter. And most likely, therefore, also all the other dates in their system in relation to Easter, etc. Now, could there potentially be other applications other than determining Easter for this 19-year cycle? Well, again, following my intuition, yes, I sat in front of computer screens. Several computer screens, actually. 3, maybe 4 screens for several years, looking for codes and mapping things over thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of years. And what did I find? Right, well, this is what's the completion of 19,000 years of peace. I shared this one before, which is the spreadsheet. It's just a sample, though, of a much bigger spreadsheet. Now, each of these, yeah, each line, okay, the distance between each of these lines where there's numbers, that's 19 years. Each of these data points, yeah, is a unique calculation. Each one, yes, each one is a unique calculation that involved a complex formula to determine the fluctuations. Yes, and then each fluctuation is then mapped in these, what I originally called timelines, but later on thought the terminology of a time spiral made more sense. So each of those is 19 years apart. Each of them is a unique individual calculation, double-checked and triple-checked. And through doing that, I then discovered particular years there were eclipses. So I marked those out. You can find those because they're yellow on the page. See how that's slightly darker here? Yeah, that's me marking it out as an actual year where there's a total solar eclipse on the spring equinox. And that's what I mapped out over 20,000 years. Now, through mapping it out, I then looked for further patterns within the pattern to see if there was a greater level of detail I could then express using the same knowledge from the 33 diamond to see what kind of geometries I could make. This is the previous one was on page 121. This one is 125. And here's the two geometries, which is going back to page 121. Yeah, the distance between eclipses here and eclipses here. Yeah. The time between 3 eclipses in a row and the next time there's 3 eclipses in a row. I then found out it was either 372 years or 391. And that's the fluctuation I mapped out. I called this, in 2012, the celestial DNA time spiral. Now, The reason I called it that was if you go to pages, yeah, page 1 is on 129. Yeah, so that's that same spreadsheet, but now it's been mapped vertically, okay, giving more evidence to how the fluctuation fluctuates with the 372-391 year fractal codes at the sides. Right? So that's on a website page. You can see the full thing online, and I'll put that in the description as well, just to be sure. Within those codes, so taking the 19, map that over 20,000 years with how many calculations? Wow, yeah, quite a lot of calculations. Yeah. And then through that, finding the 372, 391, but it doesn't stop there, because if you then map how 4 of them in a row relate, because there's timeline jumps as well. There's like completions of timeline spirals, and then a beginning, and then a crossover. And it's not just a simple bit of maths. This is complex science. And through then looking for further codes in that, I found the 1,461 and 1,507 year cycles, which are at the beginning of my book, because I found those out originally when I was just looking at information related to leap days. And there they were, here in this 19 to 20,000 year calculation. Now, I wasn't expecting to find those, but there they were. Now, that's just the maths then. So, to me at this point, I liked it as a form of resonant meditation, as in understanding nature and therefore wishing to share that with anyone who's interested, so we could start to communicate about actually transcending the Gregorian calendar, because I think it's important for us to actually know the reality that we live in this universe. That's what the geometries meant to me in the first place. Complex geometries, overlaid geometries, geometries which essentially help you understand the universe and show this fluctuation. Now, this idea of a fluctuation isn't something new, because the 19-year cycle itself has either years of 12, short lunar years, and years of 13, long lunar years, which is itself a fluctuation. So this is a fractal system, and all these different levels, there's a fluctuation, 12 and 13, 372 and 391, 1,461 and 1,507. 3 levels of fluctuation, small, medium, big. Okay? This is just a graphic to just describe fluctuation. This is the average, which is the diamond matrix, which gave me the accurate base to then find the fluctuation. The fluctuation is the 372, 391 over that average of the average of the average of the average, which is the 33 year cycle. Still, at this point, I was just fascinated with geometries and patterns and understanding the wisdom of our ancestors, and wishing to put together the next stage of my work, because this is many, many years ago and was presentations, and it's mainly slides. It's just pages of slides, whereas this is a full book with about, I think it's 26,000 words and about 180 graphics, and yeah, whole nother level to this work. This was meant to encapsulate my work to that point. This was published photographically in 2016. It's now 3 years later. The last 19-year cycle started in 2015. Yeah, so we're at the beginning of a 19-year cycle at the moment that started in 2015. So, what happened next then? Well, the information that comes next really is going to be gone into detail on the episodes at the end of the Alchemy level, so Alchemy 12 and 13. But I would just like to mention right now, hang on, oh, yeah, oh well, it's the dolphin phone. Hello? Hello? Oh. 1 second. Yeah. Right, yeah. Okay. Thank you very much. 19,000 years of peace. How to stop World War III. I did actually make a post about that, talking about my work. Let's talk about it, including all the secrets they don't tell us about, but we know of through our own research. While they're spreading around their death bombs, religion of destruction and resurrection through Holy Mother Church, let's talk about stopping the wars, and let's understand a science of peace, which transcends the Gregorian calendar of all the NATO countries and the GA countries and everybody else who has death bombs. You're not using natural time. Okay? This is actually very serious information. I would really like people to actually get on board with understanding the seriousness of this information from a compassionate heart. Yes, as in talking about it openly. Yes. Everybody gets handouts. It's just some get bigger handouts than others. Debt-based currency in the age of waterproofs. So, go to websites, here we go. What's this over here? Yeah, and just would like to say for the record again, looking forward to being proven wrong. So the future's bright. The future is the same old Gregorian. Okay? So, feel free to prove anything I've said wrong. I'd love to hear from you. Literally, would. Yeah. Yeah, then I can move on with my life and do something else. Okay? So, just to give you a bit of something to perk the curiosity before the other episodes, Alchemy 12 and 13, I'd just like to bring your attention to this image. And I'm just going to circle this in the middle here. And I think we really need to talk about the natural causes compared to the human causes, and more discussion about what is a warming period and a cooling period. And here's the new terminology I would like you to familiarize yourself with. It's called a climate or a climatic equinox. Okay? I'm going to just put a date in there as well. Now, this is according to the maths that I can back up mathematically, historically, and now with the ice cores, and probably many other examples. This is the date from that maths that this climatic equinox occurs. Now, I'm sharing this information to spread awareness, not fear. We shouldn't be afraid of the winter. Just like every year, you should be prepared for the weather to change. This is just a different cycle that lasts approximately 750 years for a full one of these. Okay? Now, that's what the information in my book has revealed to me in the last few years, particularly in the last year. This will be in my third book. I would really like to talk to more people about this. And I'm not doing this to spread fear. No, I'm not someone who makes death bombs. No. 19,000 years initiative of peace. Through understanding nature, where we live, and understanding the fractal nature of that nature, so we can understand the reality we live in better. Okay? So, climatic equinox. Great. Got a few more minutes left. It's been quite a journey. Wow. I really hope maybe this episode, because it's obviously an episode that's very dear to my own heart and the work and effort I've put in my life to try and understand the reality we live in more. Maybe because of that, hopefully this one has come across better. I am actually new to presenting things in such detail on videos. All the information already is in my books and online to a certain extent. The newer stuff is here. galactic-arkana.xyz. All of these episodes have already been uploaded before in a previous series. You can find the links to those by going here and clicking on the numbers in the words Arcana. So if you wanted to find a video in more depth about 19, you look for the number 19 on Galactic Arkana, click on it, scroll down, and you'll see the links. This is just a 30-minute episode. Perhaps there's other information in that longer version that you might find interesting. The truth will set us free. If it doesn't, it's not the truth. Okay, everyone. Well, I hope everybody takes care, and lots of love to everybody. Thank you for being on this journey with me. I would love to hear from you. If you'd like to share any understandings or any questions, feel free. But this isn't about fear. This is about spreading awareness and also giving thanks to our ancestors. And if you're still questioning why I give so much thanks to our ancestors, I wouldn't be doing any of this work if it wasn't for the wisdom of our ancestors. Bringing that all together to then find a fractal equation of peace lasting 19,000 years, well, that's a dream come true, really, for me. But it would be really helpful to share more about this as a planet. And I look forward to the day that this information can all be shared far more quickly and succinctly and in ways, hopefully, that help everybody understand it better. That day will surely come. Yeah. And until then, yeah, be the peace yourself. Wherever you are, be the peace. Because that's what the future is 19,000 years of peace. Okay. Thank you very much, and blessed be.